Welcome everybody to today's video. I'm Lisa and I have the beautiful Jenny Schoenmann with me, and we will talk a bit about yoga and the cycle and why it might be a good idea to adapt your yoga practice to your cycle. Now, Jenny, if you would like to introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you. Thanks for having me and welcome everyone. My name is Jenny Schoenmann, and the last name already explains it a bit. I'm from Germany, but I haven't been living since over 10 years in Germany, so we're traveling. And at the moment we are in Holland. I have 2 kids, I have a husband, and I am a yoga teacher since a couple of years now. I'm a soul-based coach, and so a little bit my mission, or not a little bit, but my mission and my passion is all about ease. It's bringing ease into my life. It's bringing ease into your lives. And this is, and that's why I'm teaching yoga in maybe a little different way. And that's why I also have written a book, a magical morning book, where I invite all of you to bring more ease into your day-to-day life. And I think that's also I'm so happy to be here with Lisa to share with how we feel about ease and yoga and the cycle.
Thank you. Can't we all use more ease in our lives? I definitely can. And I can testify for her courses. She has also done a course on the magical morning routine, and it's really great inspiration. So check it out, everybody.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know much about the cycle and its main phases yet, I would like to briefly point out the main 4 phases. And this is really just a blueprint. So each cycle is different for each person. So don't take it as it must be this way and otherwise I'm wrong. That's definitely not the case. This is just the general way the cycle works. So we begin at the time of menstruation or dark moon. Maybe I should first explain that the menstrual cycle only applies if you have a natural cycle, meaning without any hormonal birth control. In all other cases, like taking hormonal birth control or being pregnant, breastfeeding, or not cycling anymore for whatever reason, then you can always refer to the moon, and she has the same cycle. So we begin at dark moon or the menstruation phase, where we often retreat back a little, we rest, we go inwards and just open ourselves to our intuition. And then we move into the waxing phase of the moon, or the follicular phase in our cycle, where we start opening up again, a bit like in spring when the flowers start blooming or budding. And during that time we have a little more energy and get new ideas for projects. That's that. And then we come to the time of ovulation or full moon, which is the time where we are usually, not everybody, the most outward, and where we can be active, we are social, and we generally like being out and about. And then we move back in the waning moon phase or the luteal phase, where we start already retreating, reflecting on what the cycle has brought us, also letting go of the things that don't serve us anymore. And that's the basic cycle. And now my first question to you, Jenny. I know from our conversations that you do believe it's important or a good idea to adapt your yoga practice to your cycle. Please share with us a bit why you think it's so important.
Thank you first for explaining that so beautifully. And I believe that it's important to honor these phases of the cycle, because what happens if we don't? If we don't do that, it's a constant phase of doing. We are living in a world where there's a lot of doing, and we can do a lot. We are all capable of doing a lot, and that's what we do right now. But if we constantly keep doing, what is happening sooner or later is that we burn out, because doing is a very male action. It's very young. It's very fiery. And when we fire, and we burn out internally. So that's why I find this is such a beautiful and natural invitation to see the faces, to honor them, and to take advantage of them. To really say, now I'm in my moon phase, now I'm bleeding. So I really take advantage of that, because that's also the moment, as you said, to reflect and to gain all the insights, to draw inward. And that naturally comes with more rest. And if we rest more, then we gain more. So we not always, and then what we also, I feel what we tend to is if I'm not doing, if I'm not achieving, if I'm not expressing myself and getting out there, I'm doing nothing. But that's not true. We gather the energy so that when we're ready, then we have more. And then we can express ourselves in a way, maybe better way, or in a more aligned way. And that's why I find this is super important. That's why I also find it's great to work or to be busy from Monday to Friday, and let's take Saturday, Sunday off. That's why I find it's important to open the screens and do work on the computer, but also have time to close the screens and do nothing. So that's a little bit the same, and also with the seasons of the year. There's time for doing, and there's time for resting, retreating, and regain that energy.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely second all of that. And what I've also found, like, I'm a little bit activist, so like listening to our bodies has been brainwashed out of our system. So if you really want to start a revolution out there, start listening to your body, because it already has this natural tendency. Even from day and night, we have night where we rest and we have day where we are active. So I think it's really a cool way of doing a lot when you work with your own body and your own cycle and listen to it.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right, and I so agree with that. And what I feel and hear very often is that we have disconnected from that wisdom of the body. So why not take advantage from the moon cycle or our menstrual cycle or the seasons? That's very something we can grab, we can see, it's written down, and then it's a good entrance to reconnect with the body. And if we do this for a couple of weeks or months, then we get these messages way more clearly from within, and then we don't need to have our calendar when we're menstruating. We just know, and we feel naturally it's time to withdraw.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, as I said, it's not like every woman menstruates around the dark moon. It doesn't have to align with the moon phases or anything. You just look at your own cycle and you see what's going on in your body, and you take that as your North Star.
And that's very important. And thank you for saying that, because it can be another burden, another pressure on our female shoulders to like, oh my God, I'm not bleeding with a full moon. What's wrong with me? Or I'm not bleeding at all because I chose a different way for me. So it's all good. All of that is to be respected and to be honored, and you are whole, whatever you choose and however it is for you, because you still have all the wisdom within, and you can get in touch with that, whatever way you choose to do so. Yeah.
So true. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So Jenny, if you would like to share some, excuse me, some tips on like what we can do to adapt our practice, our daily routine to the 4 phases, and maybe starting already with the menstruation phase or the dark moon phase, where we are usually a bit retreated and inward and reflective.
Yes, sure. So what I really, really like from myself and what I get the feedback is when we start bleeding, it's really a time to slow it down. So with yoga, we can do restorative yoga. We can do more yin yoga, moving slower, because what also can be is that there might have been some tightness and tension and feeling stuck in the body. So we still want to keep it moving a little bit so that the blood flow really moves downward. So you can do gentle movements, but you might want to do them maybe a little slower or maybe even more away, and make sure you take lots of rest. It's also a great time to journal, to reflect, to go inward, to really feel and note down what's nourishing me, what do I need, what has this cycle brought me, or what's not needed anymore. So it's really a good time excuse me, to reflect. And coming back to the yoga practice, I really like, I even do warm bottles. I lay down, have a warm bottle on my belly, do stretches or maybe curl in. So all these movements, making space and contracting, they are great to improve the blood flow. Child's pose, all of these kind of really slow things, listening to some nice calm music. And for all the moms out there or for people with partners, it's also really a time where we can close the door and let everyone know it's me time. So please talk to someone else, ask someone else, but now it's really time for myself. And what I also really, really enjoy in this time is really nourishing my whole body with warm foods, soups, warm tea, and taking everything a little slower. And I also know that's for many beneficial because it's a constant doing, to maybe for 2-3 days, keep the computer closed, get rid of all the devices, maybe cooking something up front so that you can really have 1 or 2 days for yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, what I want to say, because what I often hear when I say that is like, yeah, but we live in a world and you have meetings and you cannot say I'm out of everything. And it doesn't have to be that way, but you can look for ways how you can adapt your schedule a little bit. Maybe in the meeting you will not the one facilitating, but you ask a colleague who could do that, or if you can like get takeaway food so you don't have to cook, or as Jenny said, of course, prepare yourself in upfront, and like really find little simple ways. Then it's not 2 hours where you have your me time, but maybe it's 10 minutes, but make it so that your body receives this message. Okay, I do something. I do as much as I can, even if that's just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And it's not a luxury thing that we do. It's actually very much needed, and it's about our health. So it's not, usually there should be no compromise. And I also see and hear what you say, that we always hear, but how can you do that? You can't take off. But is that really true? Is that really true? And is that the truth? Is that our reality, or is that the reality of this business or whoever is that who is saying that? So it's really also time to reclaim that what is true for ourselves. And it might be true in this moment that your company doesn't like if you take a day off, but is this your truth? And what is more important to you? And then of course we go really deep into our beliefs and all the layers we have put on ourselves, but it is important because we can't do this that much longer in that way. That's what I believe.
Yeah, as you said, the burning out comes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, okay, moving into this waxing moon phase or the follicular phase, where we get a little more energy and get excited again about new ideas and projects. What tips or what would you recommend for that phase?
Yeah, I would recommend getting to move the body a little bit more, for sure, doing a vinyasa class or a hatha flow class, sun salutations. But I would still also have a huge part of resting and restoring, because we can overwhelm ourselves easily by taking a lot of rest or resting and then So next chapter. So making it a transition. I think in our world, we have lost the transitions. There is either this or that. So now I take holidays and then I'm 110% full on again. So we take rest and we transition from that rest and we allow ourselves to build it up, taking it easy, but still having the vision forward to our, maybe we name it goals or what we would like to have more of. Walks outside are amazing. They always keep us grounded, but they also bring us into more activation. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely a phase I'm struggling with. Like, okay, 2 days of rest during menstruation, but now I have to do all the stuff again. That's definitely something I want to have a look at in the future cycles. Thank you.
And it's and if you are more having a creative job, you will notice that maybe even more that your creativity doesn't really spark that much in this phase, and that's okay. But give yourself the time, and then when you're maybe ovulating and you're in your full power, then it definitely comes back, but it comes back with even more power if you give yourself that time.
Yeah. And already speaking of the ovulation phase or the full moon phase, what kind of yoga or how would you adapt your practice to that?
Yeah, I know many women who really feel in their power at this time, and which is very natural. The energy increases, the hormones increase. So you can do more active yoga, and if it suits your type, you could do hot yoga or Ashtanga yoga or power yoga. If you feel easily overheated, then I would still go with more gentle flow, but lots of chest opening, back bends, heart opening, really like making space here around your heart and throat, because that's really a good time to express yourself. And to also keep doing your journaling and what would you like to have happen today? How would you like to feel today? So that you really step into your full power and take this out into this world. I'm a makeup artist as well, working with organic makeup and doing a lot of consultations with women, how to do their own makeup. And what I hear a lot is red lipstick. Everyone loves red lipstick, but it doesn't suit us. That's how we feel at every time of the phase. But when we overlay, then most likely we feel like, oh my God, this red lipstick is just perfect. While we are menstruating, it feels just like, no, that this doesn't. And I was always wondering, why is that? And until I got more into the cycle awareness. And I find this so interesting because when we ovulate, of course, we want to attract. That's our nature. We want to attract if we are having our menstruation or not. We want to attract people around us. And maybe it's also okay to take advantage of that. Maybe it's also okay to have more pleasure at this time. And therefore, I think we can dive fully into that. And I think we are very much allowed as women to do so and show up, just showing up for ourselves. And for example, I also try to schedule my appointment a little bit like that. So when I know I'm menstruating in 2 weeks, I'm not necessarily schedule coachings at this time or an interview. I would rather do this at the time when I'm ovulating. So then I have a little bit the backup that I will feel more expressive or more present with the other person. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do that as well, like taking time off when I'm menstruating. And it's like, because I have very severe cramps and then I'm like, oh, and I don't have to do anything today. So I can just lay on the couch. And
yeah. And that's really also interesting to observe. If you can ease a little bit more into your cycle awareness and notice how it goes with your cramps. So maybe it eases a little bit more when you take it a bit more easier.
I'll definitely
In the
let you know.
phases. Okay, and then one more when we're ovulating. So you see, it's not a recipe for all. We always have to come back. How does it feel for me? Because we say when you're ovulating, you are in your full power. It doesn't have to apply for everyone because the circumstances are so different, especially in these times. So also if you notice like, okay, now should be in my full power, but I don't, that's okay too. So then take a step back. Then maybe it's different this time, or it's different for you. And then we always honor what's happening for us, and maybe we take another day of rest so that we can the day after step back into our power.
Yeah, and I can definitely testify for that, because myself, during ovulation phase, I feel really very unbalanced and not so well. But once it comes into the next phase that we talk about in a second, I'm like, I've got power, I've got ideas, I want to do things and implement. So coming, for me, it's actually really coming into this, actually calming down phase, but that's my most productive phase. So for this like autumn, luteal phase, waning moon phase, what recommendations do you have for us?
Yeah, the body naturally asks us for slowing it down. Yeah. So, and I absolutely hear you. And this is also my most creative phase. And it's also because I think there is a natural longing for bringing things to an end. Coming towards menstruation, it's always like it's an end of a cycle. And for some, it can also feel sad. There can come up some sadness. And I heard this woman saying one day, it's like dying. It's like a little death. In a positive, in a good way. But this can also feel like you and I, we maybe feel like, but I have so much to give. So let's bring it on. And you know what we also say is when we are living our desires, our passion, then it comes next naturally. And that's maybe what we feel like, okay, there's so much more. I have to do that. I have to bring it out. And that's why it feels so naturally and there is not so much effort and even it's done with ease. And we can do that because it's what we love. But we also have to honor that the body needs to slow down as well, get into preparation. And it's a time where we maybe want to bring things to an end. Maybe when we have a course that will be published or that will be launched soon, maybe now we want to finish that course, have everything ready. Maybe there is a few things that are not clear between me and another person or in a work environment. Maybe that's a moment to get more clarity about that so that we have kind of everything done in this cycle that is important to us so that we can bring this to an end. And I really always like this image of you're fully out there, you're jumping on the grass, you're doing it all, you're making yourself happy and everyone around you happy. And then you're still waving to everyone, but you're like, I'm coming back, but I now need to take the rest. And the sun is going down and you slowly go into your, wherever is your place. And then you restore and they are still there. When you come back, they are waiting for you. So I really like that. It always gives me shivers because I feel like, oh my God, please everyone, you deserve that. Claim it for
me
yourself.
too. I can feel it. That's the best picture ever. I have to think about that next time.
Oh, yeah.
So good. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And yoga wise, so for me, that's maybe also where I really like to teach yoga with ease. We can do all the yoga practices and we can always adjust them to our needs. So when I take these few moments on my mat before I start to really tune in to feel what is needed for me and being honest about it, I could do 20 sun salutations fast if I need activation, but I can also do them slower and breathing deeper if I need more calmness. So in this phase, I would go for whatever you long for and then during the practice, see where it takes you. So I would also make this a transition. So no sharp edges and sharp rules.
Oh, thank you. Wow. I believe we could talk on hours about this. is there anything else with all of what we've said now that you would like to add before we wrap up?
I think what you also have said and where we have talked about, the outside world maybe tells us something different, or tells us something that at one point we started to believe. And when it comes to claim time for yourself, claim back and bring back that ease for yourself, and it feels difficult, and take a moment and ask yourself, is this really true? And is this my truth? And if it's not a big yes, then it's time to reconsider something. And this is really a process, and this process can be done with ease and gentleness and kindness and the cycle awareness. It's so beautiful that you bring that up, because that can also, that like many other things, but that can also be an entry point to more self-awareness and getting it back in touch with our soul wisdom.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, my desire, my main point is I want for people to become self-empowered.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's the same thing. Adjust your life to your cycle, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. No, absolutely. And it's always good to know. And if you say self-empowered, yeah, that's true. We have the power to do so. Definitely. And it's also time. I think it's time.
Yeah, it is. Lovely. Thank you, Jenny, so much for this vastness of information. That's so cool. I love talking to you. Before we really wrap up, tell people where they can find you if they are interested in your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, I have a webpage, and you can find me with my name, Jenny Schoenmann, or soulflowglow.com. And I also have an online studio. It's called The Ease. And you find lots of practices and journaling practices and morning practices and menstruation practices. It's a membership, and it's a beautiful area where we are in conversation with each other. And I, as you said, I do morning courses on a regular basis. I offer morning courses, and I've written a book. This will be launched in English as an ebook soon. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you're interested in my work, just have a look on my page. And when you feel like it, then I'm always happy to receive messages and feedback. Yeah.
So cool. Thank you. Yeah, and I will link the most important links in the show notes of this video wherever it will appear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this, a beloved topic of both of us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks.
Then have a good day.
You too.
Bye. Bye.